Baki Rahen has a very serious problem that is currently causing countless fans of the series to drop it for the time being, and this problem stems from quite a few factors. But how does the 22nd best-selling manga of all time manage to upset the readers so much? And how exactly did we manage to get to this point? I believe that this topic can be boiled down to two words: disappointment and expectation. Week after week, there would be numerous breaks, with only 34 chapters being released after a period of a year and 3 months. And after doing some math, this manga has released 59% of the expected amount of chapters. And there is no problem with this manga being bi-weekly at all, but the problem itself more so resides with the fact that Baki Rahen is advertised as a weekly manga, with Baki Rahen being released into the Weekly Shonen Champion magazine. And due to this expectation being created since the first chapter of Baki Rahen, the reader's expectation of weekly chapters has rarely been met, resulting in a growing agitation for many in the community. And of course, there are expected breaks on projects such as this for things like Christmas and other holidays. But when these breaks are not slowing down and are even at some points being back-to-back 2 or even 3 week-long breaks, you cannot really blame anybody for being agitated. But it is not the breaks themselves that have caused such an uproar in the community, but it is what these chapters contain themselves that have become the core of this agitation harbored by readers. And the issue with the chapters in Baki Rahen are them seeming almost lackluster. For example, not too long ago in Baki Rahen, Jack Hanma vs Pickle took place, and this was debatably the most important fight that Jack Hanma has had yet. Or at least, that's what I thought, with this being Jack's chance to prove just how strong he is after learning his Gouda. But the problem actually stemmed from Pickle, particularly Pickle practically not fighting back. Pickle was introduced as a fighter that is a powerhouse and extremely fast, with one of the best trump cards in the Baki saga being Pickle's final form, which transforms Pickle's body, hardening his muscles to such an extent that they can stop deep injuries from bleeding. Pickle has been suplexed, beat on, and even had the left side of his face bitten off, and all Pickle had to show for it was the damage that he had done to Jack's stomach, which has already healed, and did not affect the fight in any way possible. Pickle had been not trying at all, and the one time that Pickle was angry, he did damage to Jack, but he immediately went back to not defending himself after he calmed down. And also, something that I believe is contributing to the Baki Rahen hate is the expectation that Baki Dao has set. Since Baki Rahen is being released directly after Baki Dao, comparisons would be a given and subconscious for many, as Baki Dao is in my opinion one of, if not the most entertaining section of the Baki series. From the introduction of iconic characters such as Musashi Miyamoto to the storytelling being amazing, Baki Dao has set a standard that would be very hard to match or exceed, and now Baki Rahen is facing the brunt of that standard. Baki Dao created a fresh take on the Baki series, with some of the best fights in the entire series occurring, such as Musashi Miyamoto vs Yujiro Hanma. And even though the Baki writer himself has even stated that the story and development of Baki Hanma may as well be over, as Baki had finally achieved his dream of somewhat being able to match up with Yujiro, Itagaki was still able to make the series extremely enjoyable due to good writing and consistency, with breaks being rare and almost every chapter being enjoyable, progressing the story constantly. And at the end of Baki Dao, Pickle was shown looking completely different than before and hinting towards Jack Hanma and Pickle's rematch, and successfully setting up Baki Rahen's release as well as starting an enormous amount of hype in the community. And when Baki Rahen had initially been released, the first 2 chapters were great. Jack Hanma's origin story was shown more, giving the audience more of an impression on Jack Hanma and giving us more of a reason to look forward to seeing him in the future. But this is when the weekly breaks had begun. These breaks would become a consistent theme and a constant annoyance for the readers, with the manga initially starting on September 28th, 2023. And chapter 32 of Baki Rahen released on October 30th, 2024. This weekly manga maintained an average release frequency of 1.75 weeks per chapter, or 12 to 13 days. And that is strictly when you do the math and divide to get the average, but that is not even the true average, as every now and then, the manga may release 2 chapters in a row with no week-long breaks and then have a random month-long break. And out of the first 32 chapters, there were 19 breaks, with numerous of these breaks lasting 2 to 3 weeks. Now do not get me wrong here, I truly do enjoy Baki, and Baki Rahen has been a pretty solid manga for me personally, but I simply do not enjoy the fact that what is advertised as a weekly manga is almost never weekly, and quite a few other readers are also becoming more agitated as each chapter releases, as this manga has been releasing chapters for over a year at this point, and nothing truly major has happened at all, apart from Pickle losing half of his face and now looking like Two-Face from Batman. And speaking of Jack's fight with Pickle, that lasted 3 months, for Itagaki to pretty much just tell us that Pickle considered it a sparring match, which is just insane in my opinion. For the first couple chapters in Baki Rahen, the story of two characters were primarily followed, a fighter named Hanada and another fighter named Kosho, with Hanada even having a brief fight with Karu Hanayama, in which Hanada actually managed to land a throw on Hanayama before then running away to not return to finish the fight, as Hanada would then go on to meet with Kosho to have a fight of their own, resulting on Hanada taking the loss against Kosho. And though Baki Rahen has had some insane flaws, I have to give the manga props. Jack Hanma then met up with his father Yujiro Hanma for the first time in an extremely long time, introducing a dynamic that I did not expect to be as good as it was. Jack would mock Yujiro progressively, making Yujiro more and more angry, resulting in Yujiro Hanma throwing Jack Hanma's head through a window. With this encounter now adding tension between Jack and Yujiro, potentially setting up a future fight for this father-son duo. Jack Hanma and Kosho then had their own fight in the arena, ending with Kosho nearly dying and Jack Hanma being temporarily blinded. And after Jack Hanma had left Yujiro's tower, this is when the man himself, Pickle, made an appearance, showing off how he was surviving in the modern world on his own, before Pickle had then ran into Jack Hanma in the street, with them almost fighting while reminiscing about their previous encounters before being interrupted by Karu Hanayama. And this would then set up Jack Hanma and Pickle's long-awaited rematch in the arena, which concluded with Jack Hanma suplexing Pickle numerous times as well as punching him, with Jack even biting off the left side of Pickle's face. And the only repercussions to this was Jack Hanma's stomach being bloodied, but even then, Jack still got another bite onto Pickle, as well as the proportions of the characters not really making sense. This is not really a problem for me personally, but I see how it could be for others. And also, just to be completely transparent, I still like the series and I like Baki Rahen. But quite literally, as of the day of uploading this video, we are on hiatus until further notice. And also, not everything in Baki Rahen is bad. And that is not what I am trying to convey at all. Something that I particularly really like about the Baki Rahen series so far is when I'm reading Baki Rahen, it gives me a similar feeling to when Baki was based around tournaments, which was absolutely peak. And if you would like to interact with me, my community, show off your art, drop some memes, talk in general, or maybe even self-promote, then you can join the Discord that can be found in the description box below. And if you enjoyed today's video and would like to support me, then you can leave a like and subscribe. It is completely free on your end and helps me out way more than you may think. But that will be all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!